guess the places that I've been. You never guess the places that I've been. 'Cause everything is like a dream, yeah, but only in that dream that I live in. I'm never gonna let the day begin. Never gonna let the day begin. 'Cause everything is like a dream, yeah, but only in that dream that I live in. Oh, don't wake me up before you go, and I'll just make this bed my home. Oh, darling, please just let me sleep. Give me my dreams. Never gonna come down from above, 'cause everything looks better from above. Nothing's ever as it seems, yeah, except in that world that I dream of. Never gonna lose the ones I love. Never gonna lose the ones I love. 'Cause everything is like a dream, yeah, but only in that world that I dream of. Oh, don't wake me up before you go, 'cause I can't face this day alone. Oh, darling, please just let me sleep. Give me my dreams. Give me my dreams. Give me my dreams.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Olds Fall Classic here at the Olds Regional Exhibition. We are so excited to have you join us for another incredible year of competition, camaraderie, and celebration. We are proud to share that for yet another year in a row, we've broken our record for the number of entries in this show. This remarkable achievement speaks volumes about the dedication, passion, and commitment of our exhibitors, their families, and our entire cattle community. This year is especially meaningful as we celebrate 15 years of the Olds Fall Classic. Over this past decade and a half, this show has grown into one of Western Canada's premier cattle events and wouldn't have been possible without the support of our sponsors and, of course, our outstanding exhibitors. On behalf of the Olds Regional Exhibition, we extend our deepest gratitude to everyone who has made this event what it is today, and to all our exhibitors, we wish you the very best of luck and a successful show. Thank you for being part of this milestone year, and let's make the 15th annual Olds Fall Classic the best one yet. And so we will now begin with our All Other Breeds show. And welcoming in our first class will be our Limousin Junior Yearling Heifer class. We've got one entry in this class, entry 400. This is Kira Axley with her animal. K. Axley Mojito 91M. So this is our one and only junior yearling heifer in the Limousin division, and so for our judge, your class is complete. So it's time to introduce our judge for all of our breed shows here at the Olds Fall Classic. Our judge will be Brent Stewart. Brent Stewart has truly lived a lifetime in the cattle business. Raised on a cattle farm in Russell, Manitoba, he showed his first cow-calf pair with his dad over 60 years ago and has been dedicated to breeding, raising, and showing cattle ever since. In 1983, Brent and his wife Dale, along with their daughter Kelsey, established Stewart Cattle Co. Over the decades, they became fierce competitors, showcasing cattle across Canada and the U.S., with highlights that included winning the prestigious Calgary Stampede Steer Show 5 times. Brent judged his first show at just 16 years old and has since officiated some of the most prestigious shows in North America. As a breeder, he was known for his emphasis on structural soundness, particularly in feet and udders, while managing a herd of Black Angus, Simmental, and commercial females into the Stewart Cattle Co. dispersal in 2020. We will now be ready for comments here from our judge, Brent Stewart.
Good day, folks at the Olds Fall Classic. What a beautiful day, and looks like we're going to have a nice set of cattle. In this class, this heifer very attractive from the side. I guess if I wanted to pick holes in her, I'd want to put a little more Springer rib in her and maybe just a little nicer hoof on the rear, but a real nice, attractive female. Too bad she didn't have some competition.
Thank you, Judge Stewart. So first in this class is entry number 400, Kira Axley with Axley Mojito 91M. So she will be back for our Limousin Grand Champion Female Drive. Next, we will welcome in our Limousin Senior Yearling Heifer Division, entry number 401, Amanda Matthews with Highland Mysteria. So this is your one and only entry here into the Senior Yearling Heifer Division of the Limousin Division here. And so for Judge Brent Stewart, your class is complete.
Another single entry in female division here, a heifer that's got a lot of volume, a lot of barrel to her, heifer that's going to lay down and look after a calf quite nicely, a heifer that walks out fairly decent, and again, too bad she didn't have a little more competition.
Thank you, Judge Stewart. And so first place in this class is entry number 401, Amanda Matthews with Highland Mysteria. And so that will be our first place here in our grand champion Limousin Senior Yearling Heifer. She will stay in the ring as we are going to welcome back in entry number 400 from our Junior Yearling Heifer division, our grand champion Kira Axley with K. Axley Mojito 91M. And so now this is your Limousin Grand Champion Female Drive. I'd like to make a thank you to Davis Reardon Embryo Transplants for sponsoring the Champion Female banners as a leading provider of reproductive technologies and embryo transfer services. Their commitment to innovation and genetic advancement continues to elevate the livestock industry. So big thank you again to Davis Reardon Embryo Transplants. And now we'll be ready for comments with our Grand Champion Female Drive from Judge Brent Stewart. So our grand champion female is entry number 401, Amanda Matthews with Highland Mysteria. And then our reserve champion is entry number 400, Kira Axley with K. Axley Mojito 91M. And so that is our Limousin female division all finished up there. And so we're now... And so now we welcome in our Limousin 2-year-old bull, which will be our grand champion Limousin 2-year-old bull and our only Limousin bull. So this will also be our Limousin grand champion bull. This is entry number 403, Chase High and Diamond Sea Limousin Ranch with High's Legacy ET. And now comments from Judge Brent Stewart.
Big, stout, soggy 2-year-old bull here to win the division and the show by the sounds of it. But a bull that's going to do the industry a lot of good.
And so your grand champion Limousin Bull is entry number 403, Chase High and Diamond C Limousin Ranch with High's Legacy ET. Alrighty, folks, and so that will do it for our All Other Breeds show. Thank you very much for joining us. In about 9 minutes' time, we are hoping to be starting the Stars of the Tomorrow jackpot shows. So for all of our Stars of Tomorrow exhibitors, we'd like you to be here right at 2 o'clock so we can run right on time. And so we'll be getting back into things here at 2 o'clock. Also, a special thank you to Alta Genetics for sponsoring the Champion Bull banners. Alta Genetics is a global leader in livestock genetics and reproduction technology dedicated to enhancing performance, profitability, and the future of the cattle industry. Okay, if you're in Class 1 of the Stars of Tomorrow, specifically the heifer calf part of the jackpot, we are ready to start, so we'd like you to be here as soon as possible. So make your way ringside right away. Heifer jackpot, split 1.
Check, check, 1, 2, mic check.
Okay, folks, I believe we are ready to begin. And so, in our Stars of Tomorrow, we'll begin now with the purebred jackpot here for the heifer calf division. And first in is entry number 500 from Dome Charlais, SVY Elsa 550N. Next in is entry number 552. Never mind. Entry number 560 is next in, pardon me on that one, Ty and Taylor Draves and Tidy Livestock with Tidy's Reloaded Elegance. Then in is entry 552, Jarrett Davis with Freeways and Freeway Angus with Freeway Savannah 78N. Then in his entry number 501, Landon Schutz and Mapleview Livestock with 6S Perfect INF 75N. Then entry 502, Carter Wood and Rockingham Livestock with RML Kaylee 503N. Following her is entry number 503, Justin Fox and Sweetgrass Ranches with Sweetgrass Verona Katie 16N. And finally, entry number 504, or next in is entry 504, Darcy Oleski with Shiloh Cattle Company and Red Shiloh Rosette 27N. And finally, entry 906, Brant Walgren and of Walgren Farms with WF Darlin 288N. So this is your first split of the Stars of Tomorrow Jackpot Heifer Calf class. And so our judges of the Stars of the Tomorrow show is going to be Rodney and Tanya Holman. Rodney, along with his wife Tanya and their 3 sons, Wasey, Keston, and Chase, own and operate Royal Western Galvy and Real World Genetics. For over 27 years, they have been dedicated to seed stock production, building excellence across Galvy, Simmental, and Angus cattle, and their program is recognized across North America with countless national champions, breed-topping high sellers, and industry-leading genetics proudly branded with the RWG prefix. The Holman's family's annual Draft Picks Bull Sale has quickly become one of the top sales in Canada, showcasing their commitment to quality and innovation in the beef industry. Beyond the banners and sale rings, Rodney and Tanya's greatest pride comes from watching their boys' involvement on the farm and in the show ring as they begin to build their own legacies with high sellers and champion cattle. So let's give a huge round of applause to Rodney and Tanya Holman, our judges of the Stars of Tomorrow Jackpot. And at this time, we'd like to extend our appreciation to GWB Enterprises Limited for generously sponsoring the judges at this year's Fall Classic. Their dedication to supporting agriculture and their commitment to excellence make them a valued partner in the livestock community. It's time now for comments from Judge Rodney Holman.
Really nice set of cattle to start off this event. We're going to lead off this deal with this sim heifer that just kind of emboldens a lot of what Tanya and myself truly think, not only what we want for cattle for ourselves, but where the industry's trending. We need these cattle to be high growth, really efficient cattle for all segments of industry, but most importantly, we need to build them from the ground up, and this heifer kind of touches a lot of those details all in one package. And then what's really cool about her, she's got enough of a show ring look, design. She's square and true out of that pelvis, long in her top, and obviously elegant enough in the front 1/3 to look pretty classy on a halter. A really nice female we're excited to see back in the champion class. Followed up by this Charlet heifer that's hard not to appreciate the way she gets out and travels. What gives her the advantage over the rest of the class is just how true and square she stays in that top line when you set this female in motion. She actually overstrides just a touch that's going to serve her very well as a big bred heifer down the road. And there's a lot of details about this female that she's fresh and she's well made with adequate muscle. She's got that bone and substance to be powerful enough in her own type and kind. And a female we have a lot of appreciation for. I guess we're going to roll into third here on this red Angus heifer. This is probably one of the most challenging females in the whole class for Tanya and myself. We truly believe this might be the best female on the ground in terms of foot quality. She's fighting that halter a little bit, and I don't think she's really showing off how well she can get out and travel. And she's definitely not no powerful show female. But when you look at the details of depth of heel and foot and leg angles and the way that she comes up into that hawk and how true she stays in her hip and the rest of her skeleton when she's in motion, this is a really cool breeding piece. Great female. This black female here in fourth, she's a female. We like a lot of things about her. We love that substance and mass and that easy keeping design. I think she's very adequately good on the ground. We just like to lengthen out that pelvis and it's kind of just bolden out and expand her from hooks to pins a bit to match that rib and that shoulder design this female has. This classy shorty female here that rounds out next, I think there's so many good things about her. Her length of body, she's big over her top. When she wants to walk, she actually flows quite nicely. She's very good on the ground in terms of foot placement. We'd like to give her a little more depth of heel on that rear foot. She gets a little soft on that pastern. But a female, most importantly for us, we'd like to take that little bit of a roll out of her loin when she's in motion. And that might just come with one or two more trips to the show ring to balance out. This is one powerful black sim female here in the ring. And we really appreciate a lot of things about this female. For Tanya and myself, it came down to the details and the way that she's starting to roll on those lateral claws when she pushes off on that rear structure. You see that when you set this female in motion. Every now and again, she'll click and pop as well. A female, though, if you're looking for brood and mass, she can be as competitive as any female in the class. It's basically the way she's designed from rear up on those legs, as we'd like to free up not just the pastern movement in the female and the flexibility, but also the way that foot hits the ground. A female here, I think that's got a lot of future in front of her and just gets outpowered in the class today. We'd like to see this female in 3, 4, 5 months from now, because she's good on the ground. She's true in her pelvis and her design. A female that's just not as elegant in that front 1/3 compared to her body mass. She gives up a little bit of chest floor and isn't quite as powerful as the females above her compared to what she offers in terms of bone and foot quality. We round out the class with a really nice shorty female that's very elegant in the front 1/3. Just a female that gets completely outpowered in the class above as she gets a little tight in that heart and into that flank, and she wants to roll on her pelvis as she gets out and moves, but a female that offers a lot of elegance and a lot of natural shape.
Thank you, Judge Holman. So in your first split of the Heifer Calf division here in the Stars of Tomorrow jackpot is entry number 906. Brant Walgren with WF Darlin 288N. Second in class is entry number 500, Domes Charlets with SVY Elsa 550N. Third in class is entry 504, Darcy Oleski with Red Shiloh Rosette 27N. Fourth in class is entry 502, Carter Wood with RML Kaylee 503N. Fifth in class was entry number 503, Justin Fox with Sweetgrass Verona Katie 16N. Sixth in class was entry 560, Ty and Taylor Draves with Tidy's Reloaded Elegance. Seventh in class was entry 552, Jarrett Davis with Freeway Savannah 78N, and eighth in class was entry 501, Landon Schutz with 6S Perfect INF 75N. Now into our second split of the heifer calves, and one adjustment in your program, folks. First in will be entry 551, Jarrett Davis with Freeway Pride 16N. Then following him will be entry 505, Tiffany Peters with Peters Miss Navajo, Nikki 22N. Following her is entry 506, Michael Zoller with Red Pyro Brandina 517N. Next in is entry 507, Aaron High with MRC Miss Princess 6N. Following her is entry 608, Rod McLeod with CML Ren 529N. Following her is entry 509, Mater Ranches with Mater Rose 71N. Following that is entry 510, Rob Voice with Grassroots Emmy 514. And last into the class is entry 922, Southpaw Cattle Company with Paw Nightcap 523N. And so this is your second split of the Jackpot Heifer Calves here in the Stars of Tomorrow Jackpot. We would like to take this time to thank Trow Nutrition for sponsoring our exhibitor social, which will be at 6 o'clock this evening. Trow Nutrition is a global leader in animal nutrition, committed to advancing animal health and sustainable farming with cutting-edge solutions and strong partnerships. Their generous support, including providing every exhibitor with a complimentary bag of feed, makes events like this possible and helps our exhibitors succeed. So let's make a big round of applause for Trow Nutrition for sponsoring our exhibitor social. We'll also take the time to send a thank you to the Ennisfail Auction Mart for their generous contribution of added money to the jackpot pot. Your support helps make this portion of the show even more exciting and rewarding for our exhibitors. So it's time now for comments from Judge Rodney Holman.
I think first off, the top 3 in this class are exceptional breeding females that probably all deserve to be in a league of their own. They are very different in their own phenotypes and the way they're put together, but I think that all 3 of these females are so exceptional in what they could offer to industry, and I think that's a comment that Tanya and myself would share very equally. And I guess we're just going to sort them to the one that we felt was probably the truest and the most complete and had the most structural things in her favor, but also has enough of that show ring look and design. The foot size and structure underneath this heifer is very good. The way that she comes in off those leg angles and she ties in that shoulder nicely in the top of her neck, she just kind of completes herself really nicely. And I think the female in second is such a competitor to this female in first in her own type and kind. The thing that we'd notice is that when she's out and she travels, she's got a little bit more natural set in that hawk, which sometimes can be a big advantage, but she hasn't yet put enough depth into that flank and fill into that lower quarter to make her look like she's got enough power to compete with the heifer above her. But a female that's super elegant in her type, obviously she's got a little bit of that soft swoop to her top line that's hard not to appreciate when she's traveling. She's got her head pulled up like that. But a female that we just want to power up and kind of square up and true out her hawk a little bit to be really super competitive. This Char heifer, wow. I'm not sure what this female weighs in at and what her weight per day of age is, but it has to be exceptional. The one thing that I guess Tanya and myself came down to is we just like to tie that shoulder in a little tighter, and I'm not sure if that's even possible when you make a female that's stout in her own type and kind. And she wasn't being as free in terms of her shoulder movements in the ring. Granted, I have nothing at home that's this well show broke yet myself, so congrats. This is a cool female, so anyone looking for breeding pieces, this is a really sharp female that's got more power and substance than we'll probably see all fall. And like I said, those top 3 females, exceptional in type and kind, each and every one of them. The female here in fourth is one that I really loved in that profile when she's set up. We just like to free her out in terms of that lower pasture and give her a little more flex on those rear legs. She's got enough set to her hawk, but she doesn't want to carry that down into that pasture, and she short strides a bit, and she's a little steeper in her shoulder design, which is what we see in terms of overall skeletal design of this female. But she's a really good footed female that offers that length of body and a lot of style. There's a lot of good components to this female. That's why she finds herself in fourth in a really strong set of females. The female that we used in fifth, I think, is the brood cow in the bunch. This girl's just gonna go out and make babies every day of the week. She's got so much shape and belly for being a female that's not overly powerful in any one design. She's really nice on the ground up. She short strides just a touch in terms of that not wide open free step on the front 1/3, which is something that Tanya wanted to note to me, and I agreed to seeing that as well. I think that comes with time and just being a little more comfortable in the halter in a show ring setting, but a female we think very highly of in terms of skeleton design from top to bottom. Nice female. Red Angus heifer here that just really gets kind of like outclassed, outpowered in a set of females that are exceptional in genetic merit. I think that what we would like to see is this female really square out those front feet. She gets a little bit less than desirable on the ground in that front 1/3, and she stays a little steeper in that shoulder tie-in, and then we want to see them not carry that loin quite so strong when they're out on the move. When you set her in motion, she wants to paddle on those rear legs and kind of push away from herself instead of just out walking elegantly and staying true in her tracks. Once again here, second last in our class is a female that's got every bit of the length of body we want, all the classiness to be in a show ring. We just need to free up the skeleton. She gets too straight in the shoulder and too steep. She's the same way coming out of that rear hawk and pasture, and if we could add that softness and that ease of travel to this female, she would be right in the front of the class, one that's really classy when she's all set up. When we round out our class here with a really nice black female that's obviously very feminine and got enough design and type, our biggest challenge here is we just don't think this female's good enough on those rear feet to be any higher in our class today, and that's a real big sticker for us. Is we want to make these cattle from the ground up every bit as good as we can.
Thank you, Judge Holman. So first in that class is entry 509, Mater Ranches with Mater Rose 71N. Second in class is entry 510, Rob Voice with Grassroots Emmy 514. Third in class was entry 508, Rod McLeod with CML Ren 529N. Fourth in class was entry 922, Southpaw Cattle Company with Paw Nightcap 523N. Fifth in class was entry 551, Jarrett Davis with Freeway Pride 16N. Sixth in class was entry 506, Michael Zoller with Red Pyro Brandina 517N. Seventh in class was entry 507, Aaron High with MRC Miss Princess 6N. Finally, eighth in class was entry 505, Tiffany Peters with Peters Miss Navajo Nikki 22N. And now into our third split. First in is entry 512, Kai O'Neill with ONL Miss Smooch, 65N. Second class is entry 513, Gary and Kim Anwender with ACC MNM Candies Nanaimo, 5N. Following that is entry number 514, Caden Johnson with JNLC Miss Scream, 501N. Next in is entry 515, Amy Taylor with STS Miss Darlin, 86N. Next in is entry 516, Dome Charlays with SVY Elsa, 501N. Following that is entry 561, Ty and Taylor Draves with Tide's High Caliber Elegance. And finally entry number 926, Rayleigh Erickson with PF Scott, Redlicious, RLP, 1N. This is your third split of the Heifer Jackpot for the Stars of Tomorrow. This will be your final split as well, and so our champions from the previous two split can make their way back over to the marshalling area so we can have our championship following this class.
turn it on. No, I can't stop to turn it on. No, whisper something to you short and soft. So Indigo City, why do you get me down? Indigo City, kicking me to the ground.
A really nice split here again of these heifer calves. It just goes to show the depth and quality that the breeders bring out. This Shar female, she kind of caught her eye walking in. She's pretty close to what we want to see in the females that we'd like to design and build at our own place. She's got really nice front pastern angles, and she's really kind of true and square in terms of the way she comes off that knee and the way she hits the ground. She carries that through to a shoulder that gives her enough elegance and presence, yet she's got flex and travel. Her rear feet land pretty close to where we want them to be, yet when we just stand and analyze her, she's a beef female. All the way from tip of nose right to that end of her tail where she's just full of red meat and mass, and we really appreciate that about them because it's kind of that balance of make them as much performance and much payable pounds, but still give them some elegance and some look. And that's kind of about where we debated and really had to flip coins here for second and third in this deal. We end up going with the female. It's a little bit flashier and a little bit fancier, and a female that complements our first place heifer really well. The biggest takeaway and what sets her apart from the female that won this class is we just like to give this I guess second place Shar heifer a little bit more depth of heel on the rear, and kind of keep her a little bit more square and true in terms of the way she pushes off. Every now and again she'll click on that rear pastern. The female in third, when you get right in behind this female and you look at her over the top when she's actually set up, she's impressive. There's a lot of meat and mass in this female. She just doesn't tie in a really elegant way. She's not really a fancy show female in any stretch of the imagination, but there's lots of power and substance to her. Our biggest takeaway from this female is she's got really good foot structure. We just want to free her up in her joint work. Just let her be more elegant, a little bit more free moving, because there's so many good things in this female. And even when you start looking at details of teat placement and like what we expect her to be as a cow, this one might win that deal in terms of dollars produced when they're all 10 years old. Nice female, great breeding piece. The female in fourth here is a female that gets to where she is because she's very good on the ground. I think there's a couple heifers later in the class that are a little bit more elegant, a little bit better presentated, but this female's really good on the ground, and we really appreciate that about this female. That elegance, that presence, that staying true when she pushes off, yet she's got lots of body capacity and she's a wide pelvic female. We really appreciate her type and kind. The next female here, when she's set up in this class, is probably as fancy and as cool looking as anything in the class. Our biggest concern here is I just don't think that she's as good as she needs to be on the ground and as consistent as true. And she gives up a lot of that power and mass that a few of the females had above her. A female that obviously is every bit as fancy, a little bit too much set in that rear hock for our likings, but I think a cool breeding piece when utilized properly. Then the next black sim heifer here is one of those females that just kind of gets a little bit extra pelvis rotation we want to see, which extends that hock beyond the point of her pin bones, which causes some of that lack there of proper movement and really looking strong on her feet and legs. And then we see that in terms of the way that she gets a little bit narrower in that foot structure, and she's going to struggle with a little bit of medial and lateral claw dominance challenges as she grows and develops if we aren't careful in terms of the way that she wears down those feet to maintain enough structural balance. The Shar heifer that rounds out is just a female that's completely outpowered in a really good class, and a female that just gives up a lot of that muscle mass substance of a lot of the heifers above her to be a little bit more competitive today, and a female that I guess could use a little bit more in just in terms of that freedom in those rear pasterns as she gets out and travels around the ring. And some challenges were noted to me by both Tanya and myself in terms of foot structure.
Thank you, Judge Holman. And so in our third and final split of the heifer jackpot of our Stars of Tomorrow show, in first place was entry number 512, Kai O'Neill with ONL Miss Smooch 65N. Second in class was entry 516, Dome Charlet with SVY Elsa 501N. Third in class was entry 926, Ray Lee Erickson with PF Scott Redlicious RLP 1N. Fourth in class was entry 515, Amy Taylor with STS Miss Darlin 86N. Fifth in class was entry 561, Ty and Taylor Draves with Ty D's High Caliber Elegance. Sixth in class was entry 514, Caden Johnson with JNLC Miss Scream 501N. Seventh in class was entry 513, Gary and Kim Anwender with ACC M&M Candies NIMO 5N. And so now we welcome back our first and second places from our first two splits, as well as our previous winners from the third split. In first is entry number 906, Brant Walgren with WF Darlin 288N. Second in that class is entry 500, Dome Charlays with SVY Elsa 550N. Then in the second split, in first was entry 509, Mater Ranches with Mater Rose 71N. And second in class was entry 510, Rob Voice with Grassroots Emmy 514. Finally, from our third split, first place was entry number 512, Kai O'Neill with ONL Miss Smooch 65N. And second in class was entry 516, Domes Charlays with SVY Elsa 501N. So this is your grand champion, Stars of Tomorrow, purebred jackpot heifer calf drive. So our grand champion jackpot heifer calf will go home with $1,590, and our reserve champion will go home with $1,010. So over $1,000 worth of prize money up for grabs here, and so in a very exciting class here for our jackpot heifer calf championship. And now comments on our champion heifer calf class. This is Judge Rodney Holman.
I guess the quick conversation between Tanya and myself was we'd like to start a breeding program of this set of 6 females, and I think we'd be in the driver's seat in a hurry. And there's some exceptional females being well presented in this ring. We both discussed it, and we were both on the same page, so we're going to go out and send Tanya out to congratulate champion first and then reserve.
Thank you, Judge Holman. So we'll wait now for our declaration of our champion heifer calf, going home with $1,590. And so your grand champion is entry 906, Brant Walgren with WF Darlin 288N. And your reserve champion, entry number 512, Kyle O'Neill with ONL Miss Smooch 65N. So congratulations to our winners as well as the rest of our exhibitors. And it looks like we're going to take a quick picture break. Yes, okay, I've got the official from the boss. So we'll take a quick picture break, but again, thank you to Ennisfail Auction Mart for their generous contribution of added money to the jackpot pot.
early in the driving rain, found John's out hitting on the liquor again. It wasn't too late, about 10:30 when he let loose what the cat dragged in. It was a Sunday. Hey, and that morning came in, morning when he tried to make me pay the rent. Said, I ain't got no money for you, can I pay my way with these dancing shoes? Thought I was kidding. Brother, brother, what you owe me, I can't count on anymore, till the police come a knocking on our door. We'll be burning down the house, tear it to the ground, burn it up, tear it down, burning down the house. Well, I spent some time in a backwoods town, ain't nothing to do 'cause there ain't nothing around. Deputy sheriff ran around the block, but the streets are empty and the doors are locked. Got pretty lonely. And that preacher there came, rang my bell, told me a little about heaven and a lot about hell. Said, I ain't got no money for you, can I pay my way with these dancing shoes? Thought I was kidding. I was not kidding. Father, Father, what you owe me, I can't count on anymore, till the angels come and knocking on our door. We'll be burning down the house, tear it to the ground, burn it up, tear it down, burning down the house.
All right, we're ready to get back into it as we'll welcome in our commercial jackpot heifer calf class. And so this is our one entry into the commercial jackpot heifer calf with entry 517, Peyton Hagel with Horseshoe Cherries Channel, 50N 50N. And so this will be your commercial jackpot heifer calf champion. And now comments on this class, Judge Holman.
Single entry class, a fancy May 11th heifer. I think there's some good things in this female, and she's really elegant in her overall profile and design. She's actually quite good on the ground when she does choose to walk freely and nicely. A heifer that's got enough width the pelvis and enough width the base to grow up and be something pretty cool in the future.
Thank you, Judge Holman. So your grand champion stars of tomorrow commercial jackpot heifer calf will be entry number 517, Peyton Hagel with Horseshoe Cherries Channel, 50N.
The world outside is mad and cold. You don't grow up, you just grow old. Soon it's over, so they say. But God Almighty, till that day. We'll be burning down the house, tear it to the ground, burn it up, tear it down, burning down the house. We'll be burning down the house, tear it to the ground, burn it up, tear it down, burning down the house.
And be sure to join us this evening right here in the Megadome for the annual Exhibitors Social, proudly sponsored by Trow Nutrition. This year's social will be extra special as we celebrate 15 years of the Olds Fall Classic. A delicious supper will be provided courtesy of Trow Nutrition, along with drinks and a silent auction. The Exhibitors Social is always a highlight of the weekend, a chance to relax, visit with friends, and kick off the show with good food and great company. We invite all exhibitors, families, and supporters to come out and celebrate this exciting milestone with us. Don't miss it. That's going to be at 6 o'clock or at the completion here of the show right here in the Megadome Arena. And it looks like we're ready to go here now as we'll bring in our purebred jackpot bull calf division of the Stars of Tomorrow's show. In first is entry number 522, Brant Walgren with WF Century 293N. Second in is entry 518, Michael Zoller with Red Pyro coming in hot, 588N. Third in class is entry number 519, Darcy Oleski with Red Shiloh Northbound, 8N. Following him is entry 520, Wyatt Danes with WGD Backwoods, 502N. Next is entry 521, Dawn and Lee Wilson with DMM Disruption, 26N. Next in is entry 523, Mater Ranches with Mater Walk of Shame, 24N. And following in is entry 555, Rayleigh Erickson with PF Nostalgic RLP 15N. Then next is entry 960, Southpaw Cattle Company with Paw Nikolai 516N. And finally, we have an added entry into this class, entry 553, BCC Caesar 501N from Brandel Cattle Co. That bull is born on January 1st. And so this is your grand champion, purebred jackpot bull calf class of the Stars of Tomorrow show.
Take me over to the north side so I can find my way. Lord knows I've walked the south streets, wasted hearts and days. So take it all, take everything from me and bring it on. Take me down to shining waters, towns of grit and pride. Let me check my own soul, I've nowhere left to hide. And take it all, take everything from me and bring it on. It's because I am just a wandering man that I need you now to take my legs, or else I'll ramble on until I wreck the song. Take it all to set me free, I beg. Take me to a hilltop castle, to a room all draped in white. Give me some familiar faces so I know I'll be alright. And take it all, take everything from me, then bring it on. It's because I am just a wandering man that I need you now to take my legs, or else I'll ramble on until I wreck the song. Take it all to set me free, I beg.
We sincerely thank DLMS for sponsoring the show and providing live broadcasting, making the Olds Fall Classic available to watch online. Your continued support helps share this incredible event with audiences across Canada and beyond. So again, thank you very much to Direct Livestock Marketing Systems for being our broadcast sponsor of Olds Fall Classic.
Take me to a state of mind where kings are pouring paupers rich. Take away my trembling fingers, I'll take away that faithful itch. It's because I am just a wandering man that I need you now to take my legs, or else I'll ramble on until I wreck the song. Take it all to set me free, I beg. Take it all to set me free, I beg. Take it all to set me free, I beg. Yeah. to a mountain, followed a bird off there, 'cause I found me a woman who treated me unfair. And I awoke to the sunrise, remembered an awful dream of lightning and thunder, and hearing someone scream. Trouble finds you and worry, it sticks around to your day. Once you found a little darling, and she takes over your head. And I see when it was blowing, I had to find me a hole to climb in and live forevermore. And I heard voices calling in my delirious state. They're saying something out in Spanish. That's when I went insane. Trouble finds you and worry, it sticks around to your day. Once you found a little darling, and she takes over your head. I started that story and forgot that this is a live recording, so now we can't use this song either. But she's gonna hear it eventually. So they can just mess it up now if they want. They can do whatever they want. Down from that mountain, I had to find me a job. Come in and live, I was selling gas and soda pops. One afternoon I was bothered because those thoughts, they don't end. Set me back up. Up to that mountain again. Trouble finds you and worry, it sticks around to your day.
We'd like to thank Olds Future Ag Equipment, the official equipment sponsor of the Olds Regional Exhibition. Their support makes it possible for us to set up and run events like the Olds Fall Classic, and be sure to check out Future Ag for all of your equipment needs.
Once you found a little darling, and she takes over your head. Trouble finds you and worry, it sticks around to your day. Once you found a little darling, and she takes over your head. She will. Thank you.
And so our grand champion jackpot bull calf is going to go home with $710, and our reserve champion will go home with $410. So Big prize money available here again. Now time for comments from Judge Rodney Holman.
It is ridiculous how good this set of bull calves are from multiple breeds, all represented here today. Tanya and myself's breeding philosophy has always been the hardest thing to accomplish, and that's build them from the ground up and then add power. And I think as breeders, that's also the hardest thing to do no matter what breed of cattle we raise. And I think complementary, we found 2 bull calves that we'd gladly put as herd bulls in our own breeding program that are both built from the ground up. They're both soft enough in their structure. They have little subtle differences between them. They're adequate in scrotal development, and there's so many usable pieces in both these bulls. So we're just going to leave those sit there for a second, and when we're done, Tanya's going to walk over and congratulate our champion and our reserve. We want to get through the rest of the class here and some comments. The calf that led off the group of bulls into the ring here today that finds himself in third is one of the coolest profiling, biggest hipped, really stout over the top bulls that absolutely can flex, travel, and move from a side profile. We run into a little bit of some challenges when we analyze this bull. There's a slight toe out on that front, and we see a little bit of difference in terms of claw shape from medial to lateral in the rear. And at times he likes to get a little narrow base for how big pelvis this bull is. That's our challenge with him here today. And we realize that these high performance bulls grow in and grow out of problems as they go through them awkward teenage stages after being weaned. But a really cool individual that's going to offer a lot moving forward. The Charolais calf in this class, I think, is one of the nicest design bulls in the whole group. He gets outpowered by the 3 bulls ahead of him, and just in terms of show readiness and filling that stifle. He's not as deep in his twist, and we see that on display. But I think a calf that we analyze him from ground up is a very well-designed bull and a really cool breeding piece moving forward. Wow, this black and white symbol, if you are in the marketplace to hang the biggest check on the wall because you're looking for pounds of beef and production, this has to be one of the bulls that's going to be top of your radar come this sale season. A bull that's got really good foot structure for how big of a bull he is. And it's hard to make that good of foot structure underneath those high performance cattle because lots of times they just start growing outside of their own frame. We'd just like to free him up in terms of his posture and movement and allow him to hit the ground more square and true off those rear feet as he pushes himself forward throughout the ring. When he stops and stands, he's classy, he's big-hipped, and he's really stout. A very cool breeding piece moving forward. When we get into a calf that I think that on a side profile has got a lot of things going for him, when we get in behind this next calf, we just like to blow him apart, just expand everything on him, give him more rib shape, more mass, more everything, because I think he's got enough skeleton height and enough skeleton length to take that extra width, mass, and power and do something good with it. But a really refined bull that has nice shoulder tie-in and nice neck tie-in, and we appreciate about this calf. Then we get to the bull in the class is probably the challenge for Tanya and myself, a bull that we feel is the most muscled in the class with by far the largest scrotal. And one of those bulls, if you're looking to add that lean meat yield and you're looking for yield grade and pounds of beef and keeping it on a moderate frame, this has to be the bull that's on the top of your list. For Tanya and myself, we felt like he just gives up a little bit too much in the way that he doesn't want to flex out and be free and through those shoulders, and his natural tendency is to toe out pretty hard on that front 1/3, and for that reason alone he finds himself where he is. But I think a bull that as he finds that maturity and all those tendons and ligaments get back to where they should be and he starts becoming more square and true out the front 1/3 could be a very cool breeding piece. And then probably the 2 of the more challenging calves in a really good class, we find 2 Red Angus bulls that are quite adequate when we think about foot structure and building them from the ground up. And I think the Red Angus calf that excels in that category is in the front of those 2 bulls, and bulls that don't deserve to be in a bottom of a class anywhere. That's just how good this class truly is. And I think that the bull that we find that's the closest towards the front of the lineup has so many good things about him. And I think as this bull matures and adds more payable pounds on top of that skeleton, he's going to be impressive. there's a few moments when he was standing side profile to us, he just wasn't set in on his pasterns and his hocks and those rear legs as nice as I think he can be. And Tanya's comment was when he sets himself in motion and he actually wants to walk, he's actually quite free in his skeleton design, and that's what sets him ahead. Then the calf that we round out our class with, the calf that's really square and true in his pelvis type and kind. Again, a bull we just like to blow apart. He's got enough skeleton height and length. Let's add some mass and some carriage and some overall capacity to this calf. But once again, we really want to nail home that this is an exceptional set of jackpot bulls. And from very good breeding programs, obviously, to have this caliber of bull calves all in one class, this feels a lot more truly like a champion class than just an individual class of bull calves that you'd find. With that being said, hats off to the front run of this class. They're exceptional in their type and kind, and we'll go pick our champion and reserve.
Thank you, Judge Holman. And so we'll just wait for our declaration of our champion and reserve here in this very competitive class of purebred jackpot bull calves.
I wait to see your golden smile, feel of 1,000 kisses. Oh, please stay a while.
And so your grand champion is entry 521, Dawn and Lee Wilson with DMM Disruption 26N. And your reserve champion, it's going to be your added entry there, entry 553, BCC Caesar 501N from Brandel Cattle Company. Third in class will be entry 522, Brant Walgren with WF Century 293N. Fourth in class will be 520, Wyatt Danes with WGD Backwoods 502N. Fifth in class, entry 960, Southpaw Cattle Company with PAW Nikolai 516N. Sixth in class, entry 555, Ray Lee Erickson with PF the Nostalgic RLP 15N. Seventh in class is entry 523, Mater Ranches with Mater Walk of Shame 24N. Eighth in class, entry 519, Darcy Oleski with Red Shiloh Northbound 8N. And ninth in class is entry 518, Michael Zoller with Red Pyro Coming in Hot 588N. We will now take just a brief picture break again to picture our champion bull calves. And then we'll come back for our commercial jackpot steer class.
Reach up to hold your sunlit face. Feels like a handful of silk now. I'm in your warm embrace. Oh, I hope this feeling lasts till the oceans turn to glass and the world around us turns and fades to black. Together we'll hold back the sun in this moment forever young. Against the stream of time we'll run, baby. We'll hold back the sun. This feeling moves me every single day. I'm captured by your charm, enchanted by your ways. In the magic of your eyes, I've become lost in their spell. So come closer, my dear, because all is well. Oh, I hope this feeling lasts till the oceans turn to glass and the world around us turns and fades to black. Together
We now move into the Stars of Tomorrow commercial jackpot steer class. In first is entry number 524, Peyton Hagel with PJH Gambler 399N. Second in is entry 525, Shaylin Beatty with Relish. Entry 526 is going to be a scratch today, and then next in is entry 527, Blake Fisk with Midnight. Next in is entry number 528, Grant Danes with Sparky. Following that with steer is entry 529, Mason Zwicker with Rusty. Entry 530 is going to be a scratch today. Then following that is entry 562, Ty and Taylor Draves with Ty D's Herb 70N. And then finally, and the next is entry 531, Weston Fahey with Mario. And so that is your championship drive here of the Stars of Tomorrow commercial jackpot steer class. So once again, up for grabs here in this class is 710 for a grand champion steer and 410 for a reserve champion. And now comments from Judge Holman.
As tough of a class as we've had all day, and mainly because of varying in types and kinds, the most structurally correct calf finds himself in third, and we really wanted to note that as kind of the headline of this class, that steer can get out and really make some tracks in this class. But let's circle back here to front. This black steer, I think, embolds as much about where this beef industry is headed today. And we got a steer that looks like you could go and show him. He's extremely extended in terms of length of body. There's all that class. There's enough set in that front forearm and those front feet to maintain enough softness and correctness. This steer is just super long-bodied and has enough depth of heart, I think, to carry himself as we get to the feeding and finishing stages of beef production. And when we start thinking about shrinking cow numbers, increasing slaughter weights, this is probably the steer in the class that's going to give the most opportunity to truly be a jackpot steer and hang a big carcass on the same, feeding program. A steer that we'd like to just free up in terms of those rear pasterns and change a little bit of a hawk angle as he pushes himself forward off the ground when you set this steer in motion. But I think a calf that offers the most amount of hitting both show ring and a grading opportunity moving forward when it's a finished product. The steer in second is a calf that we really appreciate for muscle shape. He's not really freaky neat in any one way or any one design, but he's very complete. This is a calf that's big pelvis and wide over the top. There's a pile of loin in this calf, and this is truly a red meat steer that I think also looks exceptionally well in a show halter when he's set up. And this calf just kind of wins in overall joint movement and flexibility, and a calf that should feed well, grow well, and I think is one of those steers that's going to be fun to watch as it gets through the feeding process. And I can really kind of picture this being that 1375, 1450 weight calf that we're staring at in the springtime, and just absolutely in awe over that rear quarter shape and how stout made the calf truly is, yet still free in motion. As I said earlier, this black steer is fancy, and by far the most correct in terms of foot and leg angles. So if you're looking for one you can just absolutely pound the coals to and not end up being too rigid in motion, this is that one. What separates, I think, this steer ends up in third because we feel there's just not the same overall shape, depth of twist, and that depth of flank as the steers above. And then also this calf gets a little bit more waisty in terms of that sheath navel connection on that underline, which is easily hid today and not maybe quite as easy as that becomes a finished product. In fourth is this really cool, stout, muscled calf. Our concern comes down to just that neck tie-in and a little bit of extra pelvis rotation from hooks to pins. And lots of times these calves will grow through these phases and grow right back out of them. But our fear is that this calf is going to get a little bit more sloped in that hook to pins, becomes a lot more round, and then you see that within that hawk and leg angle in terms of the rear end and that design. A cool calf, though, that's kind of fun to look at in terms of shape and presentation for the day. This meat steer here, the red and white, I think if one's wanting one to just feed, be super competitive because he is good on the ground at all phases, most importantly, be exceptional in a grading application, this would be that calf in this class here today. This calf has got enough chest, floor, depth, and style, just a lot kind of outclassed in terms of those few really showy, clubby looking steers that led off the class here today. Then the thrown win in motion is pretty catchy, and a calf that's really square and true in that pelvis, and obviously a very heads-uppy in its own design and type. Just a steer that we feel gives up enough of that overall width of pelvis and overall mass as it carries down into that rear leg in terms of stifle and twist to be more competitive here today. And a steer that if we could take that rear quarter and just blow it up and make it a little bit stouter in all the dimensions would be really competitive right in the front end of the class because there's nice leg angles and nice side profile in this steer. And then we get a steer here that's just a little bit out-horsed here today, and a steer that wants to roll in his loin and his pelvis when he's on the move. It wasn't standing real nice, but overall just giving up too much power and payable pounds to be competitive to the rest of the calves here today.
Thank you, Judge Holman. So your grand champion commercial jackpot steer is entry 527, Blake Fisk with Midnight. Second in class is entry 528, Grant Danes with Sparky. Third in class is entry 524, Peyton Hagel with PJH Gambler 399N. Fourth in class is entry 531, Weston Fahey with Mario. Fifth in class, entry 562, Ty and Taylor Draves with Ty D's Herb 70N. Sixth in class was entry 521, Mason Zwicker with Rusty, and seventh in class was entry 525, Shaylin Beatty with Relish. So we'll take a quick picture break for our steer class, and then we'll be back with our purebred yearling heifer championship class.
Something we could know. Tell me, little darling, what you don't find. Did you ever really think? Did you ever really try to give me all of you to know? Or did you just let go? What do you want from me? Honey, I can't even breathe. Tell me if I found what you can't see, would you come?
I'd like you to mark your calendars for Cathol Simmental Ranch. They are inviting you to their coming 2-year-old bull sale happening Saturday, December 13th, 2025, right on the ranch in Drayton Valley, Alberta. Selling top quality Simmental genetics built for performance and dependability. Don't miss this opportunity to add proven herd bulls to your program. For more information, call Graham at 780-898-2168 or visit catholranch.com. That's the Cathol Simmental Ranch coming 2-year-old bull sale December 13th in Drayton Valley. We'll see you there.
Back to me. Tell me now, baby, would you come my way if I was a better man? If I could change, I would. But I find I'm at a loss for words, and even when they come, it hurts. What do you want from me? Honey, I can't even breathe. Tell me if I found what you can't see, would you come back to me?
Okay. And so now into our purebred yearling heifer championship drive. In first is entry 532, Brian and Tracy Wilms with Brooking Beauty 4200. Second in is entry 5333, Aubrey Fraser with CML Pearl 442M. And just before I get too far ahead, the first heifer into the class was entry 214, KR Annabelle, exhibited by KFC Farms, and that's a March 29th heifer. That's an added entry. Then after our first two heifers in, or this second and third heifer in, our third heifer in is entry 126, Rayleigh Erickson with PF Echo RLP 19M. Next in is entry 534, Scott and Rebecca Morrison with Rust Beauty 4422. Following that animal is another added entry, entry 621, Lexi Dietrich with Red Redrich Firefly 141M. Following that animal is entry 563, Ty and Taylor Draves with Tidy's Prickly Pear 27M. Next is entry 535, Terron Farms with Terron Jaybird 64M. And following that is entry 536, Shelton Grabler with Red CS Selma 6M. Next is entry number 537, Quinn Peterson with Red Sprucefield MAE JNF 10M. And finally, entry number 538, Mater Ranches with Mater Violet 84M. We have 10 heifers in this purebred yearling heifer class, and so your stars of tomorrow, purebred yearling heifer championship drive is complete for Judges Holman.
In my delirious state, saying something out in Spanish. That's when I went insane. Trouble finds you and worry. It sticks around until you're dead. Once you found a little darling, and she takes over your head. I came back down from that mountain. I had to get me a job, working behind the counter, selling gas and soda pop. One afternoon I was bothered because those thoughts never end. Now they just sent me back up onto that mountain again. Trouble finds you and worry. It sticks around till you're dead. Once you found a little darling, and she takes over your head. Trouble finds you and worry. It sticks around until you're dead. Once you found a little darling, and she takes over your head. Well, I heard it through the wire that the world's gonna catch on fire. The stakes couldn't get any higher, and we're finally growing tired. They will come in the night with the moon overhead shining bright. Riders on their fatal line, throwing shadows in the night. Way up high in that Minnesota sky, that's where you'll see it by and by. They say it's coming any day, and we're all gone the other way. Gonna live as long as I'm alive. So goodbye, all you cowboys. We rode it down to the end. It's a long, hard road say it's coming any day, and we're all gone the other way. Gonna live as long as I'm alive. Way up high in that Minnesota sky, that's where you'll see it by and by. They say it's coming any day, and we're all gone the other way. Gonna live as long as I'm alive. Way up high in that Minnesota sky, that's where you'll see it by and by. They say it's coming any day, and we're all gone the other way. Gonna live as long as I'm alive. I said I'm gonna live as long as I'm alive. So you wanna live in a world with no more dying? You're counting up the cards, what are you trying to gain? I was on the outside avenue, I was looking at you, dear, waiting as the minutes turn to hours, turn to days, and it's a shame. Ain't it a shame now? It's a shame. Ain't it a shame? Now I wanna sign up for every kind of rebirth. Atomize my essence down to black earth and rain. Blow away into the night 1,000 tiny points of light. Ain't it hard to watch another evening slip away? It's a shame. Ain't it a shame now? It's a shame. Ain't it a shame? And did you know that you were playing with the sharp edge of a knife? It seems like everyone is praying for eternal life. Far away in the burning hills of Zion, betting on an afterlife to try on today. Fear guides the hand of a broken down young man, and we all need a piece of land to die on, they say, but it's a shame. Ain't it a shame now? It's a shame. Ain't it a shame? So you wanna live in a world with no more dying? Maybe I've been trying, only trying just to say. Did you know that you were playing with the sharp edge of a knife? And we can waste ourselves in waiting for eternal life.
first time you felt just a little bit of something, baby, and I fell, believing I'd fly. I found a reason to give you just enough of what you wanted, baby, to find you weren't willing to try. Make your heart it wanders, looking for a reason to find yourself something left you could try. If I placed what I have in your heart, believing be enough, would you pull me closer to your side? It was the first time you felt just a little bit of something, baby. I felt, believing I'd fly. I found a reason to give you just enough of what you want, baby, to find you were willing to try. Honey, tell me what you need. Oh, they've been talking, we've been walking so far apart. Oh, if I could turn the seasons and show you ways to love with reason, we fall so hard. It was the first time you felt just a little bit of something, baby. I felt, believing I'd fly. Yeah, I found a reason to give you just enough of what you wanted, baby, to find you were willing to try. It was the first time you felt just a little bit of something, baby. I felt, believing I'd fly. I found a reason to give you just enough of what you wanted, baby, to find you were willing to try. To love and be loved. To love and be loved. To love and be loved. It was the first time you felt just a little bit of something, baby. I felt, believing I'd fly. Yeah, I found a reason to give you just enough of what you wanted, baby, to find you were willing to try. This night, I guess I'll take you home again. So wrong to fight, I'll keep you warm inside. I'll be the one who gives what
And now comments from Judge Rodney Holman.
Well, we're given a second here to the top two to set up. Exceptional class of breds. And I guess the biggest compliment from Tan and myself and this entire lineup of heifers would be how correct they are from top to bottom. So that's really cool, because when we analyze this many bred heifers, this phase of the reproductive lives, they're starting to get heavy in calf. Most of them have seen significant extra feed than just being on grass, and to be good footed and to stay relatively free in motion is actually pretty cool, and it's a big accomplishment as breeders. So right from top to bottom, that's awesome to see. And then the second comment would be obviously the breeders that are doing an exceptional job, as the teat and udder placement in all these heifers is adequate or well above adequate, with some being obviously very exceptional. Now that we're set up here, these top two females, I truly believe you could flip a coin. And we talked about these two females a bit in this deal here. And I think the only thing that separates them for us is strength of top. We have found for ourselves that when we make cattle just a little bit weaker topped, they do seem to saw goat, and they don't have as much loin and mass, and we can make them super elegant and pretty, but we just don't have that overall ribeye size, overall meat production, and that's what we're going to use to separate these two females as they make the next generation moving forward. Both females are super elegant, very attractive, exceptional on the ground, really nice in terms of their underlines, pelvis construction. We have zero flaws there. And two females that you can flip a coin and take both of them home, make a heck of a cool breeding program. So tip our hats there. This sim heifer that finds herself in third is one of those females that I really like her type and kind. I like these cattle that have a little bit of extra muscle mass and substance, and we really appreciate that about this heifer. She's bold through her pelvis, and yet she carries it all the way down. She's really nice in her belly shape and the way she attaches that into her forerib. You move those lines forward, and she's really correct and proper through her shoulder and neck tie-in, and she's elegant in her head. The one thing that we found with this female here today, she's very just casual. We'd love to see this female just get out and stride. And we think that she's got it in her. She's just being very casual here today. And that's what ended up putting her in third. But I think a female that mechanically from the ground up is built right and a really cool breeding piece moving forward. And a female that gets outclassed, I guess, by two very fancy heifers. This female in third here, or sorry, in fourth, this Angus female is exceptional in terms of her pelvis construction. We really like the rear leg in this female. I think we had a few more challenges when we looked at that shoulder to neck tie-in and just the way that she kind of drops off behind her shoulders there. She gets a little more bold in her neck than the two Angus heifers that led off the class. And I think those little fine details is what separates them, but definitely four heifers that are all in the very front run of any show ring application. And also I think females are going to go and be exceptional mama cows. This red Angus female here was high on the list the whole way through for both Tanya and myself. A female that's very good on the ground. She's got really nice foot angles. She's really proper in terms of those pastern angles where she's got enough set and flex, yet she's not too straight in terms of that movement. A female that just kind of gets a little bit outclassed in terms of extending out that front 1/3, really making a little bit more neck extension, some class. And a female that for her own body type and shape, I think we don't want her any thicker or any more fade into her in terms of she's just starting to push off a little extra wide compared to her natural skeleton in terms of the front 1/3 as we put a little more weight into that brisket on this female. And that would be our only takeaway compared to the girls above her, but a really cool red Angus female that's built right from the ground up. This would be like the tanky brood mama cow. I'm not sure this female's pedigree, but she's got to be brood cow 101 and stacked multiple generations of it. This is the type of Angus cow that made the breed very profitable within the commercial industry. She's not your show ring female, but when you get in behind her, she's super stout from hooks to pins. She's really wide over that top. She's adequate in terms of length of body. She's just not as elegant and as fancy as some of those females above, but we really appreciate how good this female is on the ground. Very good in terms of foot quality and very good in terms of natural flexibility, and a female that's carrying plenty of rig and still free in her motion. This is the brood cow that you buy and you make herd bulls from. Really cool breeding piece. A really fancy, classy Red Angus female that almost found herself a little higher in that class, as the class is super strong from top to bottom. This female, we feel like, just wants to, at moments, toe out a bit when she sets herself into motion off those rears, and that's kind of what separated her from the females above her that stayed a little bit more true within their own skeleton designs as they're in motion. But a female that has all the right things that we're looking for in terms of enough skeleton quality and then very good in terms of motion for a big, powerful bred heifer. A really cool project. Then we group into two Charolais females here, and females that actually I had really high in the class when I first evaluated them. And as we've seen them move around the class more and more, this Char heifer here that is so fancy and yet so powerful, she wants to push really hard off that medial front claw, which is leaving that lateral a little bit exposed to being slightly weak or not quite the same size. So she loses that foot symmetry, which is allowing her to toe out here in our ring today. And that's kind of what dropped her all the way down to where she was. And a female that's adequate within teat placement, but a female that's not excellent, so it was easier to kind of shuffle her down the line a little bit. But a female on a profile that's super cool, really bold in her muscle design, and really good in terms of bone work. The next Char heifer here is a female that from the front 1/3 I think is as nice as any in the class. It's just that she carries all of that I'm going to be a power cow. When you look at her from her head and her skull and her shoulders and her width on the ground up front, she's got lots of rib shape, but we feel like she gives up so much in that rear third where we'd like to see her fuller and deeper in that twist and a little bit more explosive in terms of muscle shape for this continental heifer to truly be more competitive in a class this strong. We run across this Red Blaze female, and a female that's way more green in terms of body shape and condition, and for most times that's a huge advantage. But a female that just doesn't show as well as we want her to. She can get her head way up there, but you just see that she doesn't have that same quality of that fore-rib tie into her shoulder. That shoulder wants to kind of expose itself and become way more open. And I think it's a disadvantage to this female in such a strong class. Not only that, we felt like this female could use a little bit more natural shape to be competitive with those females above, a lot like that Charolais heifer that just left the ring. We round out a class with a Red Angus female that's got all that depth of body, and she's super long and she's really wide. She's really cowy in that hip design. We just feel that a female that gets a little bit more rig and lacks a little bit of that style and pop and a little bit of that freshness that we'd love to see in these bred heifers. And like we said starting off, it is really cool and really exciting to see that depth of quality throughout the class from top to bottom. And when you watch this heifer that rounds out her class, still hitting her stride and being correct on the ground is a huge accomplishment in the beef industry to have that much power and correctness.
Thank you, Judge Holman. And so our grand champion, purebred yearling heifer, is entry number 535, Terron Farms with Terron Jaybird at 64M. Second in class is entry 534, Scott and Rebecca Borison with Rust Beauty 4422. Third in class is entry 538, Mater Ranches with Mater Violet 84M. Fourth in class is entry 532, Brian and Tracy Wilms with Brooking Beauty 4200. Fifth in class is entry 621, Lexi Dietrich with Red Rich Firefly 141M. Sixth in class, entry 126, Rayleigh Erickson with PF Echo RLP 19M. Seventh in class, entry 536, Shelton Grabler with Red CS Selma 6M. Eighth in class is entry 533, Aubrey Fraser with CML Pearl 442M. Ninth in class is one of your added entries, entry 214, KR Annabelle KFC, or exhibited by KFC Farms. 10th in class is entry 563, Ty and Taylor Draves with Ty D's Prickly Pear 27M. Finally, 11th in class, entry 537, Quinn Peterson with Red Sprucefield MAE JNF 10M. And so we will just wait patiently now for our final picture break, and then we'll be back for the last class of the day, the commercial yearling heifer entered in the open show part of the Stars of Tomorrow jackpot. And so we now welcome into the ring our Stars of Tomorrow commercial yearling heifer animal entered in the open show. First in is entry 540, and this is an added entry. It's going to be from Scott and Rebecca Borison with CD Dixie Erica, this heifer born on August 28th. Next in is entry 541, Wyatt Wunsch with Mojo. Following that is entry number 542, Kyle O'Neill with Dane's Hearts 69M. Next in is entry 543, Kirby Wunsch with Lucky Charms. Next in is entry 544, Blake Fisk with Fisk Susie Q 415M. And finally, entry 545, Scott and Rebecca Borison with CD Linda 4200. This is your champion open yearling heifer class. And I'd just like to do a special few thank yous here as we're just about finished up with the Stars of Tomorrow jackpot. I'd like to extend a heartfelt thank you to Janet Kerr for her continued support of the Olds Fall Classic. Janet's contributions to our industry and her dedication to the show are deeply appreciated. We are fortunate to have her involvement again this year, as well as Renee Thompson. A special thank you also goes to her, who generously volunteered her time to create and install the stunning decorations that you see around the barns and show ring. Her creativity and effort truly make the Fall Classic atmosphere warm, welcoming, and professional. And then lastly, on behalf of the Olds Regional Exhibition Board of Directors, Management, and Staff, a big thank you to all of them to helping and with this show. So let's hear a round of applause for all of our volunteers that help make this show possible.
This August 28th born female that's going to easily win this class, in Tan and myself's opinion. I think it's a heifer that could have ran with anything here today. I like this heifer as much as anything we've judged. She's really good on the ground. And then we've messed around a bit at our own breeding program with rebreeding back our donors to have fall babies. So we're starting to learn what that difference looks like in terms of growth pattern and design, and when they find their broodiness and what it takes to be really cool moving forward. And I think this one's exceptional. She is so cool in terms of bone work and enough pelvis. She's adequate in terms of overall shape, and she's got that look that this isn't just some show female. This is a herd bull maker. Now, I'd love to take a piece of that genetic material home and play with it. That's a very cool female on the ground all the way up. Real proud when you can create cattle that good. This female in second, she patterns as close as we're gonna get to this female that leads off this deal. She's really, really cool in terms of that front 1/3. She's big in terms of her rib shape, and she ties in quite nice to the shoulder. if anything, gives up just a little bit of that muscle shape and that mass in terms of that lower 1/3. She's clearly heavy in calf and starting to drag down that top a little bit, but a female that's really elegant and well presented, and most importantly, a female that's very structurally correct, and we really appreciate that about these top 2 females in this class. I guess we'd call 3rd and 4th kind of our challenging 2 females in the class for Tanya and myself. We went ahead with a heifer that just offers more length of body, more pelvis, more overall mass, and yet there's some details about her we don't love. We feel she's getting a little bit too open in that front 1/3, and that's what kind of drops her down into the 3rd place. But a female that's really, really wide and really long from hooks to pins, and that's what gave her the advantage over the heifer in 4th. And then when we get in this heifer in 4th, we love the front 1/3 in this female and the way that she ties into her forerib and she carries that through into the loin. We just like to lengthen out her from hooks to pins and fill in a little bit more in that rear quarter, and we realize that that comes with time because this female is so fresh in her design, and we truly believe she's going to get better. She moves forward and she starts to fill out that lower 1/3. She does want to pull her loin just a little bit when she travels as soon as she speeds up. And we hope that with a little bit of feed and time, that wants to soften out, and she just wants to be as full as she is, but look a little bit softer and a little bit more free in terms of her range of motion. This young man's heifer here today just kind of gets outclassed and outshone in terms of the females above, but a female is pretty good on the ground, and a female that offers enough puzzle pieces moving forward with a little bit of that skill and time of the right matings and potentially a little bit more feed and show readiness. I think this female could be somewhat competitive for this young man moving forward, and hopefully she can put some pretty good calves on the ground that helps him build a breeding program. But a female that's definitely long from hooks to pins, and a female that can get out and travel nice, just missing some of those little extras and those details that really make you kind of catch your eye and be excited about the female. Round out the class with a female that likes to toe out. She's got some structural challenges. That was the biggest reason she ends up right in the bottom of her class. But again, a female's got enough depth of the body and enough rib shape that there's some puzzle pieces there we can work with moving forward.
And so thank you, Judge Rodney Holman, as well as Tanya, for doing a great job of judging today. For all of you still around, let's give one round of applause for them for a great job for our Stars of Tomorrow show. But to finish, our grand champion commercial yearling open heifer is going to be entry number 540, the added entry from Scott and Rebecca Borison with CD Dixie Erica. Second in class is entry 545. Scott and Rebecca Borison with CD Linda 4200. Third in class is 544, Blake Fisk with Fisk Susie Q 415M. Fourth in class, entry 542, Kyle O'Neill with Dane's Hearts 69M. Fifth in class, entry 541, Wyatt Wunsch with Mojo. And sixth in class, entry 543, Kirby Wunsch with Lucky Charms. And so that will conclude our show part of the day. We are going to, in about an hour's time, have our exhibitor social sponsored by Trow Nutrition. So make your way back to the Megadome Arena at 6 o'clock for our exhibitor social. But for now, that is all from us. And so thank you so much for sticking with us on DLMS and online. And we'll be back tomorrow morning with the Angus Show.
Well, everybody on DLMS, thank you guys very much for being with us for day one of the Olds Fall Classic. We will be starting tomorrow at 10 a.m. with the Angus Show. So on Saturday, please be aware, the show's going to start at 10 a.m. We look forward to seeing everybody online. We'll talk to you guys all soon.